Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, January 5th, 2026. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy joined by Dan Rubin. All right, my friends, two main topics on the show today. I'm sure we'll veer off as Dan and I are wont to do at some other mini topics. The two main topics on today's show: transfer portal madness. We've seen 16 scholarship players already depart from Ohio State. No huge surprises, a couple surprises that we'll get into. A couple guys that I'm a little bummed that the Buckeyes are losing, but overall, it's guys we expected for the most part. And they've had one arrival, so it's departures and arrival so far, unless you count the long snapper. But they got the tight end from Ohio University, Mason Williams, and that just seems like a great fit. And then they're in on a lot of different guys. So let's start with the departures. Obviously, the guys that I alluded to, Dan. And then the other main topic of the show, Dan and I are going to predict the 2026 starters for your Buckeyes. We're going to give you the 22 starters, in our opinion. And maybe some of those spots will be filled by transfers, like a Mason Williams and hopefully a few others. Let's get to the guys that I'm kind of bummed that they're losing. Both corners, Aaron Scott and Bryce West. I'm hoping one or both will come back. It's a little bit of a head scratcher because I think they both had a chance to play a lot next year. And in Aaron Scott's case, I had him penciled in as a starter. I thought they might move Jermaine Matthews to nickel, have Sanchez and Aaron Scott as the outside corners. I'm a little bummed by that, Dan Rubin.
I would be surprised if Aaron Scott left thinking he was going to be the starter next year. I don't think that's the case. Now, I'm not saying you were off, but that doesn't make much sense to me. And I get that the portals, let's go macro here. I get that the portal is an emotional, transactional thing to watch. But if you look at it, the extreme majority of guys who have left Ohio State in the transfer portal for years, and even recently when it's gotten even more fervent, the extreme majority are guys that probably weren't going to be major contributors. I would think if you look at Ohio State's track record, who have they lost that they really wanted to keep? It's to the point where people were pulling out Hero Kanu last year. Hero Kanu is a really nice player. Hero Kanu wouldn't have been the difference in, he couldn't block Ruben Bain, I'm pretty sure. That's illegal. So that doesn't kill me. And also, I don't think we've and this is, I'm going to get called the preacher or the sunshine pumper. I don't think we've also really grasped how well they've done in the portal. Yes, the most recent class, and I watched, you did a great podcast with J-Book on Friday, per usual. Yes, this past class wasn't what the class before that was. The class before that may have been the greatest transfer portal class of all time.
And there were just 6 guys. That's what's crazy about it. They just went 6 for 6. It was the perfect storm. You had Caleb Downs, Will Howard, Quinshawn, Seth McLaughlin. You had who am I leaving out here? You had Kazmarek. I'm leaving out somebody really good. I already said Caleb Downs. Who am I leaving out? Will Howard, Quinshawn. Who am I leaving out, guys? Who am I leaving out? Seth, Kazmarek, and there was one more. I'm leaving out somebody really good. Who am I leaving out?
You stumped me.
Who am I leaving out, guys? We'll
get it.
We'll pick it up. Max was this year. All right. So, Sayan. That's right. Because Sayan. That's right. That's right.
An asterisk. Sayan, but we'll take it.
I always go 6 for 6, and that's because technically Sayan was a even though he was at Alabama maybe a couple weeks longer than you and I were, Dan. But so that was the perfect storm. And last year was bad. They've got to get somewhere in the middle and hopefully closer to 2024. 2025 portal, and I think they will.
Dave, I don't know about that. I'm serious. When we look back at this, Caleb Downs, even Seth McLaughlin was a 3-year starter at center at Alabama who went to Buford, you know what I'm saying, in Georgia. That wasn't some small school guy. I think that was just incredible. So, and then last year, I don't, and I'm not going to go back and research this. Last year was a different timing of the portal, and they were still in the playoff. And did that affect them at the beginning? And it may have. I do think, keep in mind also the portal class we're referring to, the great one, was coming off a really disappointing end to the Michigan game, for example. And so there was an extreme motivation to refill and rebuild. And so maybe there wasn't the same juice last year when you win the national championship. But yeah, and then when you go look in the portal now, it's hard to the barrier of entry to come in and start at Ohio State is really high. I mean, so when you get 2 or 3 guys down in the portal who start looking by position, you're not going to be psyched. It's not going to be guys that are going to come here and fix. Quinshon Judkins is maybe the best running back. I mean, do you know? I think Quinshon and Travion Henderson are 1-2 among NFL rookie running backs. That's not normal. Now, C.J. Donaldson, nice guy. That was not a good pickup, in my opinion.
Played pretty well in the bowl game, but overall, you're right. He got knocked back way too much. I thought overall, I was like, he went out pretty good, but you're right.
He did.
Going from getting Quinshon to getting C.J. Donaldson, I was like, geez. And I get it. There's a couple things, and maybe this will play into their hands, Dan. So in 2023, they didn't even care about the Cotton Bowl. They were focused on, getting guys in the portal, getting ready for 2024. And 2024, thankfully, they won the national championship and had to kind of scramble because they were so laser focused on winning the national championship and playing late into January. Now the season's behind them, unfortunately, but maybe the silver lining is they'll do better in the portal. One more thing I want to throw your way with Aaron Scott. Is there a chance that this is because you mentioned, I thought this is the road you were going down when you mentioned it can be reactionary, it can be people are emotional. Could it be a situation with Aaron Scott where he's not even a true freshman? He's a sophomore. And Devin Sanchez didn't just pass him by. Devin Sanchez passed him by a lot. Like they could have rotated them a little bit, when after Lorenzo Styles Jr. got hurt, and Lorenzo Styles Jr. was not playing very well this year anyway, if you look at the grades. I think it could be one of those things with Aaron Scott where, like, maybe he would have been in line to start next year, but he's just pissed off. It's natural in sports.
I did say when I was discussing this with one of my consiglieres that we probably lost Scott right when Sanchez went on the field this year when they subbed him in. We've always said this, Dave, if you want to look at who's going to transfer at Ohio State, look for someone who got jumped by somebody younger.
Right.
That's standard. So that's possible. I would also say this. We don't see practice every day. We don't see – I mean, if Aaron Scott was better than Devin Sanchez, I think he would have played. I don't think this was like, Devin Sanchez was a more high-profile recruit. I don't think that was the case. So
they're both 5 stars.
And so I was high on Aaron Scott. Who knows? He may have a bigger offer somewhere else. I saw him. He had some social media post about Tennessee. So, I mean, keep this in mind, people. I'll bet you, I don't know this for a fact. I'm hypothesizing here, so don't aggregate this. But I'll bet you when Devin Sanchez went on the field for Aaron Scott, instead of Aaron Scott early in the year, he got X number of calls or connections that night from someone at another school saying, they don't want you. You got to come here next year, yada, yada, yada. So that has been going on all year with every really good player. One in particular that I heard about that I was blown away.
Tampering is rampant, is what I was told. Tampering is rampant. Everybody's doing it. It's just to what extent?
Yeah, so I also don't get into the he said, she said of playing time behind closed doors. Nobody's happy unless they're starting. I don't care what sport it is.
All right, let's get down to brass tacks, and then we'll move on from portal, and we'll do our predictions for the 2026 Buckeyes. All right. Who's at the top of your wish list between Chaz Coleman and Coy Parrish? And I want Rasheem Biles. I want Brandon Davis Swain. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, Brandon Davis Swain, we'll go start with that. He's the big defensive tackle from Colorado. He's going to be visiting Ohio State. Kalen Lee, cornerback from Auburn. Coy Parrish, Minnesota safety. It's like, dude, you can just come and be Caleb Downs, Coy Parrish. Let's do it. Better promise him he can return kicks and punts, too. That would help. Chaz Coleman, the edge from Penn State, a kid from Ohio. It looks like Ohio State, Tennessee battle. You never know. He's the number 1 defensive player in the portal. I want Chaz Coleman. Rasheem Biles is a fantastic linebacker from Pitt. Second team All-ACC last year, first team All-ACC this year. He was a tackling machine in their bowl game. So those are the five main ones I'm looking at. I know I'm leaving some guys out, but those are the five main ones I'm looking at. Talk about that a little bit, Dan, and then like who's on your wish list and do you think we're realistically going to get?
Okay, so I want everyone to know this. You can follow this almost in real time with 24/7 Sports. You want to go to the main 24/7 Sports page, so it's just 247sports.com. Drop down menu on the top bar is transfer portal, and then you have a bunch of choices. You can search by the latest, by the top by position, by school, etc. Now, I will suggest this. If you're looking for someone to come in and start at Ohio State, you want to break it down by position and then top, because approximately 12,000 people, that's 12,000 football players in Division I, approximately. Over 4,000 in the transfer portal. So we really have reached that, and we keep saying NFL, it really is that. That's about the number of people that enter free agency every year. It's closer to 50%, but you really are having roster turnover like that. So the 16 exits can't be seen as panic.
No.
That's no longer the way it is. The bottom half of every roster is now fluid. You can't get caught up in all that. Yes, it's different than it used to be. If you are one of those people that's like, man, I liked it when it was, before Woody punched the guy at Clemson. Remember, this is not that time. Everything has changed.
It's not even 5 years ago. It's not even 5 years ago.
It's not even last year. The schedule's changed.
It's crazy.
So what I did is I just break it down by top. Now, this is subjective. Guys get ranked again as so. For example, you said that Aaron Scott was a 5-star. He's an 89. It's not a 5-star in the portal. So now, for whatever reason, they ranked him that way. So be it. But just know that it changes. For example, Brendan Sorsby, the quarterback from Cincinnati, has transferred to Texas Tech.
He's going to get $5 million as well.
That's what Sam Levitt's the number one. And mostly quarterbacks at the top. Then you got your Cam Coleman's of the world, a receiver from Auburn. I don't think we'll go after a receiver. So then your top guy would be Chaz Coleman.
I
would be surprised.
Over Parrish? Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I'd go Chaz Coleman.
I'm just going by ranking.
Parrish. But I want both of them, though.
That's fine. No. Look.
Boy, Parrish, man.
Definitely. Ooh. Chaz Coleman was offered by Ohio State down the stretch, but he was a quarterback at Warren. I don't know how tight that was. There's something I like to call the Ohio Mulligan program. That's guys that we either didn't offer from Ohio or didn't go hard enough for, that we've gotten. Your Max Clares, your Philly Daniels of the world. Mason Williams would technically fall into that. He's a Mogador guy. Coy Parrish, obviously. And don't forget, Coy Parrish, he came very close to coming to Ohio State. It got down to Minnesota and Ohio State. So just like recruits take on kind of a personality, like, oh, this recruit, he reminds me of this guy because his dad played at Ohio State and this and that. You're going to start seeing like names. Oh, we finished second for this guy. Don't burn the bridge. You know what I'm saying? So
Caleb Downs.
No more napalming the bridge. Exactly.
Caleb Downs.
There's an example of that coming up real quick here because I'm going in order. So you got Coy Parrish. Apparently Miami's in the mix. I will also say this. I did not expect Texas Tech and Miami to be able to build powerhouses through basically just the portal, and they have done it. So I was completely wrong on that. Completely wrong. One other trend you're going to see that we need to talk about, another way to classify a guy is like, for example, it's amazing how many guys from Iowa State are transferring to Penn State. Okay. So some guys are earmarked. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there may be a guy who gets a job at a big school now because he's bringing 12 guys instead of 3, what the other guy would bring. You know what I mean?
Like Cignetti, like what Cignetti did coming from James Madison.
Everyone's going to try and pull the Cignetti, which is going to be difficult. So you're going down the list. I think the next guy they'd be interested in. How about Andrew Sprague? Offensive lineman from Michigan, 6'8", 315. 94 in the transfer portal. He's one of the highest rated guys. I'd at least kick the tires.
Justin
for example, Rocco Becht, the quarterback at Iowa State.
Oh, yeah.
Luke Reynolds, the tight end at Penn State, going to Virginia Tech. Now, here's the guy I want to talk about. Amaris Williams, defensive end, Auburn. We were in the final 2 or 3 for him. I can remember Bill Kurlick talked to him ad nauseum. He is in the portal. He's got several years left. I would like to get in on him. And then you need a bigger running back.
Yeah.
There's a kid named Adam Muhammad at Washington who's a bigger dude that I would be interested in. And then there are other guys that have not made it. Tatum from Oklahoma. Running back's also one of those spots where I think they're in good shape. Keep in mind, Bo Jackson, and I said it, did not play in the opener. So the idea they had expected Bo Jackson to be their main guy this year, I don't think that's accurate. I think they need to – they're self-scouting. If they thought James Peoples and C.J. Donaldson were good enough to come into the season, there's a flaw in their self-scouting because that's not accurate. We learned that quickly.
Right.
Even Bo Jackson, Bo got trucked a couple times in the game, one play in particular. He's just 18 years old, being asked to block Akeem Mesidor. I will say this. That's one thing that bothered me during the week. I don't know if this happens to you. You hear something and you're like, Akeem Mesidor is 25 years old.
Jeez.
The idea of Bo Jackson having to block a guy who's in his fourth year in the league, and I'm not – more power to Akeem Mesidor making the most out of his college experience. But 25 years old, the reason, we always have that argument, college versus pro. One of the reasons we think no college team can win is because the pro guys are adults. 25 is an adult.
Yeah, exactly. So I've heard a lot of people speaking of Bo Jackson over the last week. Not a lot, a few. One of them might even work for our site saying, I'm not convinced Bo Jackson has secured RB1. Now, if they bring in Quinshon Judkins through the portal, I would agree with that. And I'm like, hold on. I know he got blown up, as you're saying, in pass pro a couple times. I'm like, let's just pump the brakes here. Bo Jackson is a true freshman. Came in, rushed for over 1,000 yards, averaged over 6 yards per carry, and didn't even play in the opener. So as a true freshman, he went over 1,000 yards and averaged 6 yards per carry. I'm pretty bullish on Bo Jackson. That being said, it's a nice segue. Let's get to our predictions for starters.
Let's do it.
We'll start with quarterback. That's going to be a tough one. Julian Sayin is who I'm going with.
Yeah, so what we're going to do here is also let's talk about kind of the depth chart, and then we'll double back with maybe where the transfers will come in here.
Yeah. Then Tavian will be the backup, and then Luke Fahey, third string, and I'm sure he'll bring in a Eli Brickhandler, Gunnar Hoke, Chris Chuganoff, Tristan Gebbia type to be the clipboard holder and future, grad assistant coach, current grad assistant coach, basically.
And
there you go.
People talk about the quarterback being able to run. I'm going to marry two topics here. If you think Jeremiah Smith was going over to the Miami guys and congratulating them and asking them to pick him up, I would say you're wrong. I think he's settled. Julian and Jeremiah are pretty much joined at the hip now. I mean, I don't think Jeremiah, for his junior season, where he's probably going to look to put up the greatest statistical season in the history of football, you might want a quarterback who's good at throwing the ball down the field. And I know everyone's hopped off the Julian Sayin bandwagon now, but let's be real here. Let's be real. I'm not saying you, Dave. Yeah. And then listen, the next year, I think the assumption is Tavian will step in. He's plenty big to run the ball. You're getting maybe the best of both worlds at that point. So like you said, I don't think they need to go deep into the portal for a quarterback.
All right, running back, Bo Jackson, starter. Isaiah West will be at least in the mix to be the top backup, but they need to bring in a transfer. There's no doubt about it.
I'm almost open to any kind of transfer here that's good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's a couple guys who are leaving Texas, CJ Baxter and is it Quintravian Wisner? I apologize if I spoke Quintravian wrong. I would kick the tires on anybody who I think could come in and be a true number two. And then also a guy who, let's say Bo needs a couple weeks off in a 16-game season or long season, that you'd feel comfortable with him being the main guy. I don't think C.J. Donaldson was ever that. C.J. Donaldson, I thought, was coming in here to be a bruiser and just didn't run behind his pads the way bruisers run behind their pads.
He ran like a tight end because that's what he used to be. He did not know how to get low and use his 232 pounds. And Carlos Loughlin was never able to coach it in him. It's one thing to have that in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Remember Trey Sermon? I give Tony Alford credit for this. Remember Trey Sermon the beginning of that year, the COVID year? I was like, he's no good. By the end of the year, he's breaking Eddie George's single season or single game rushing record. And just, I was like, what in the heck happened to Trey Sermon? He went from like not doing anything, couldn't break tackles his first couple of games as a Buckeye, and he just got going. Yeah, man. And Turbo Rogers will be in the mix. Maybe the young man from Delaware, Hayes, who's going to be a true freshman, but Turbo and maybe Legend. But those guys like Legend and Turbo and the young man from Delaware. There's Delaware, Hayes, Ohio. Yeah, exactly. Those guys are more like scat back types. There is a kid from Florida.
Oh, come on.
Ohio State's going to take a look at another Jackson.
Jaden Ball.
Jacoby Jackson. He's going to be like a 7th-year senior.
Oh, no, I don't want that.
He's going to take a visit to Ohio State. He's a running back from Florida. He's a Gator, Florida Gators. So I don't know. I don't know much about him. I just know he is going to take a visit to Ohio State. All right.
There's a running back from Florida named Jaden Baugh who was rumored to be going to the portal. I don't know if he's in yet. Who would be Judkins-esque if you were to get a commitment from him.
I like Judkins-esque. You'd have to, and they could go to Bo Jackson and they would say, "Are you okay with this?" Like they did with Travion. I give Travion a ton of credit, and I give Quinshawn a ton of credit. And Ryan Day, the way that was just beautiful.
Bo Jackson wasn't even the main running back at his high school.
It's never going to happen.
He wasn't a main. He's never carried the ball that many times in a season.
And then he was hurt.
He's going to get better.
He was hurt for not his entire senior year, but most of it. Do I have that right? Yeah. At Villa Angela, St. Joe's.
Bo Jackson, recruiting wise, and because we're always first on the Ohio guys because of Mark Porter. Mark thought he's going to be a linebacker. A lot of people did.
All right. Wide receivers. I have JJ, Ennis, and Porter as my starters with Chris Henry Jr. knocking on that door.
For sure. Here's what I would like to see, though. I think they do need to – so you look at how Ohio State could improve. By the way, not the easiest question. They're not going to be as many changes as everyone wants. Look at the offense. You could make an argument, Dave, how many starters are coming back? And we'll get through that. I do think they need to add another element of explosiveness to the offense via the Legend Bay type. I don't want to say Paris Campbell, but Paris made a living here as a wide receiver without really like catching that many passes. Kind of the end arounds. It's someone who, when they get the ball, puts pure fear into the defense. I thought our deep ball was wonderful. And then our 18 yards, we were the best. I'm not sure if we were best at explosiveness out of the backfield. Bo's not exactly that kind of – we need a guy who, when they miss one tackle, they are in fear. And that is like your Legend Bay type. So
right. Turbo could be that. You're right. Legend.
Ennis just doesn't do that. He just doesn't.
Right. Exactly. They need one of those guys, whether it's Turbo, Legend, like one of those guys to step up and be that for this team. They do. They just need – they're a fast team, but you're right. They need more game breakers on offense. All right, and then tight end. Are we sure Max Clare's declaring for the draft? Are we 100%?
I don't think the NFL has got any paperwork.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not 100% that he's leaving. I think that was the plan. But regardless, if it's not Claire, I really like Mason Williams. That was when we first started talking about this months ago. I'm like, keep an eye on Mason Williams because I watch a lot of Ohio University football. And since my oldest daughter is a freshman there, and Mason Williams is good. He's good. He's following the Will Kazmarek plan, but he's from Ohio, and I think he might have a higher ceiling. Now, Kazmarek's a great blocker. Mason's a good blocker, but I think he's definitely more dangerous as a receiver than Kazmarek. So it's either going to be Claire or Mason Williams. They're also going to have Bennett Christian back. You got to think Roberts played a lot as a true freshman, and not as much maybe late in the year, but you got to think he's going to play a lot as a sophomore. So we'll see about Max Clare. That was one that I just thought entering the season, he'll be, this is his third year. He'll go pro. I don't know. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't.
Max Clare. I'm only looking at my phone because I was asking someone about Mason Williams, and I got some information on him. People are very high on him. Very. You're right about
good.
That.
He's good.
Refresh my memory on who we were just talking about. You just asked me about.
Basically, like Claire.
Claire. That's a good one.
I still would guess he's going to go, but
Well, match it up. Where do you think he's going to get drafted? And then how much money do you think that you would pay him?
I think entering the season, everybody had him pegged as like a second rounder, but now I'm thinking
third round pick.
He's not that big.
But if you're a third round pick, let's break the decision down. If you're a third round pick, you're going to make you probably make more money next year at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And he'll have a
Certainly
chance
from base salary. Maybe when you factor in signing bonus, probably not if you're a tight end, but base salary, I think so. Yes.
But he could also make the argument that, look, I get an entire offseason with Julian. I get to come back. I get to be maybe a little bigger focus of the offense. Lord knows we were always promising more catches for the tight end. Just tell him that again. But that's one of those guys. There's a few of them, and we'll get to them. Kenyatta Jackson strikes me. It's like, could they go? Yes. Would they be better as a college player? Yes. So that's an interesting one, and one that I think they could benefit from greatly.
All right, here we go. So Tegra has entered the portal, as we all know. No one's surprised by that. We had that story. That was one of the first ones that, for those that don't know, we're going to give you a peek behind the curtain. This is not, no one's going to be surprised by this. We pre-write all those stories. I had the Tegra story pre-written like a month ago. We pre-write these. That way, when we get days when they have like 50 guys that enter the portal, we're ready to roll. Like, we have to add to it and doctor it up a little bit. But like, those stories are in the system. Ready. Every once in a while, Dan will just make one live just to play a joke on us. No, he doesn't do that. That would not be a good. That would get Dan. Dan would not like that. It would make us look bad. All right, but check this out. Even with Tegra leaving, they have like so many linemen back. People are like, well, they're going to get a couple linemen in the portal, aren't they? Well, I don't know.
Let's just go left to right here.
How about nobody like Ethan Onionwa, who they paid $1.5 million for? I was told by someone who would definitely know. $1.5 million. By the end of the season, he was barely on the 2 deep. They were down to like their 9th guy, and it still wasn't Onionwa. All right, let's go. All right, left to right. We're going Austin Saraveld, Luke Montgomery, Carson Hinsman. And then at right guard, I have Padilla or Van Sickle. Right tackle, Daniels or Ian Moore. Ian Moore looked good in that.
I was going to say Ian Moore. Are we sure we don't want to put Ian Moore at left tackle and move Saraveld back to guard?
We're not sure, because that's almost what I did.
Okay, I am a big proponent of getting your 5 best guys on the field.
Yeah.
And here's another thing. Here's the beauty of there's nothing good about losing except this. Losing allows you to be really honest. Okay. Will Montgomery's coming back. I watched Ruben Bain toss him like a kindergartner. And no offense, I love Will Montgomery.
Luke Montgomery, right? Or is it Will Montgomery? No, wait a minute.
Will Montgomery. Oh, that's so funny.
Luke
Who
Montgomery,
is it?
Right?
There's a chance Will Montgomery played for Centerville in the 2000s and played at Virginia Tech and the Redskins, and I covered him. It's like a Ron Wilson thing.
Yeah, Luke. Oh, you had me thinking there. I'm like, wait.
That's my fault. I apologize to the Montgomerys. And he's coming back, and he's a really good player.
Yeah.
But I do think we need to have the standard in the offensive line, like in the portal. If the best player in the portal is an offensive lineman and wants to come here and play blank position, let's get him. Okay? You can't be in the portal. Seniority and being friends with guys on the team and being happy for them, that those days are done. If there's someone elite who wants to come in here and play left tackle, come on. We'll make. If you'd be one of our top 5, bring it. I'm really solid about that. But you're right. Saraveld may be better suited. He's a pro left tackle. Probably he may be a Pro Bowl guard. So I would consider that heavily.
Yeah,
heavily, because they weren't good enough. I remember in the boarding house today, I had an NFL guy reach out to me about the right guard position, and it was not a glowing review. I'll share that in the boarding house today, but it was the word unacceptable was used.
Yeah. All right. Defense. All right. So I'm gonna joke around a little bit. I'm not totally joking. We'll start with the defensive line. I have Kenyatta Jackson projected as a starting defensive end. He's coming back, which is really cool.
So you know that.
Senior. Yeah, he said it.
Okay.
He didn't walk.
I know he didn't walk, but that was also
I believe one of our guys
12 sacks in the playoffs, I might go.
I was not at Cotton Bowl Media Day because I was back here at the friendly confines, but we had like 4 boots on the ground. Even Heater was down there. Like, we had like boots on the ground and then some in Dallas. And I believe I'll have to look this up. I believe he told one of our guys he's coming back. So I have Kenyatta Jackson projected as a starter, and then I have transfer,
by the way.
And then I have
major score.
And then I have transfer. Now, I do have Will Smith Jr. or transfer at defensive tackle. I have Edric Houston or transfer at defensive tackle. Then I have Zion Grady or transfer at defensive end.
I think that's fair. If we're doubling back, that's I'd like to see maybe a little Zion Grady, Chaz Coleman combo. The Cam Coleman Chaz Coleman thing has screwed me up.
I know
why those guys entered the portal at the same time and didn't take my own mental well-being into account. Very selfish on their part, but I don't know.
I think some of the people in the chat early when we were talking about Chaz Coleman thought we were talking about Cam Coleman. They're like, oh, LSU's getting them. I'm like, LSU's in the mix now? Oh, they probably think we're talking about Cam Coleman. Yeah, we're not getting Cam Coleman. We might get Chaz Coleman.
Might.
We'll see. But everybody, I think that's confused to everybody. Chaz Coleman and Cam Coleman portal.
Just know this: we're not going after receivers in the portal.
No,
this rotation.
No.
Yeah. So Chaz Coleman, and then
God, I would love
Houston. If you want to talk about a guy who could take a leap for us,
it's not going to happen.
Really
I would love it.
Say again.
We have a BBQ Buckeye Bill saying McDonald should come back. I was like, I would love that, but I don't think he will. He's too many people have him projected as a first-round pick. Man, if Caden McDonald comes back, guys, I'm throwing a party. You guys are all invited. We're throwing a party. We're having a barbecue.
Caden McDonald comes back. He may move him to Upper Arlington for his senior year. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yeah.
And you're going to want to hang out at his house. He's going to have a killer man cave. I don't see that happening. That would be impressive. It would be really impressive, but I just don't see that as happening. I think
don't see it happening.
Keep this in mind when they go. Ohio State players tend to do better even when the season's over. In the eyes of the NFL, they don't tend to go down. I'm serious about this. McDonald is the guy throughout the year. People have been like, what? And also go back and look at our awesome goal line stance last year and look who's at the bottom of the pile. It's a Georgian with a lot of face paint. Yes,
I like the Matt Patricia story that they hugged before the game. I thought that was an after game ritual where they just had these huge bear hugs. He's like, you better come in ready with Caden, or he might suffocate you if you're doing a bear hug. And Caden wears all that stuff on his face and it made Patricia's beard look like on one side, like he colored his beard grayish on this side and completely like jet black on this side.
Dave, one more name I want to remind you guys of is Amaris Williams. He's currently Coleman is the #1 rated defensive lineman in the portal, and that's across the board. Defensive lineman, edge, whatever. Jaden Woods from Florida is the #2 edge. #3 edge is Amaris Williams. Definitely need to kick the tires hard on that one, especially because he and Larry have a pre-existing relationship. And I am one who used to, if you were a transfer, just in like if I was picking for the NFL and I knew you transferred, I'd already be like, I'm not into this guy. Now it is, I want to know who you first committed to, because that lets me know how you like your raw talent score. And then I guess college is hard for everybody. You can matriculate different places. I mean, I was looking at running backs. I looked at Raleek Brown. You want to be school 3? I mean, it's USC, Arizona State, and that used to be a deal breaker. I think Akeem Mesidor it's either Akeem Mesidor or someone from Texas Tech. Romello Height, I think it is good, is on school 4. No, I don't know anymore. That theory I had is just toast.
Now in college basketball, you can be like literally drafted by an NBA team, and several years of pro basketball and still be eligible. There are no rules.
College basketball.
There are absolutely no rules. That there are pretend rules. Like now you can be drafted already and still play college basketball. It's insane.
College football rules are crazy, but to me, the game is still exciting and there's a lot of interest in it. College basketball is just worse on every level than it used to be. It just is. I'm sorry.
In my opinion, it's always been, there's been sleaze in both. College basketball has always led the world in sleaze. Not the world. That'd be like FIFA. We're talking about the sports world. But like as far as American sports, like college basketball is always sleazier.
Dave, I cut my teeth covering high school basketball recruiting in Washington, D.C., and I will put that up against anything. Let me tell you something. There is nothing better than being a reporter in basketball in DC. And football coaches don't say a word. Like in Ohio, you're covering high school football. Those coaches are locked. You can get a basketball coach in DC to say anything about the other guy. We used to call burning the candle at both ends. You call this guy back, and the candle will just burn into one incredible story. And recruiting is nuts. Basketball recruiting is out here when it comes to sleaze. You are so right on that. And just nefarious tactics. Football's catching up now, though.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to linebackers. I do hope they land Biles, who is not related to Simone Biles. I'm just guessing because she's very, very petite, and he is not. Rasheem Biles, if you're just tuning in, he's the linebacker from Pitt. And the Buckeyes are one of the teams to keep a close eye on, according to our Chris Hummer from 24/7 Sports, who does a great job with the portal. So I'd love to see them land a linebacker, but the in-house guys that I have penciled in as starters would be Peyton Pierce and Riley Pettijohn. I also think TJ Alford's going to play a lot, but Pierce and Pettijohn's who I've written down, and hopefully they add Biles to the mix.
That feels like they need Biles to me. By the way, Biles is pick central, and Sonny was pick central, so that feels natural.
And Simone Biles was born here, so maybe he is related to the famous gymnast Simone Biles. She's a Columbus girl.
LV Buckeyes. Morgan Rudin, best high school basketball recruiter. He was incredible. DeMatha.
Yeah, Brass Tack just said the same thing I just said. She might be related. Simone's from Columbus. Great minds. Great minds, Brass Tacks. Great minds.
DeMatha basketball once had a 20-year stretch where every single kid who made varsity got a Division I scholarship. Think about that for a second. Not played. Every single kid who made the varsity for 20 years got a Division I scholarship. Anyway, I think they need Rasheem Biles. And I will say this about the Ohio Mulligan program. I like it. I think it's very productive, and we've done a good job with it. The idea that, and we asked Max Clare this purposely, like, Ohio State didn't offer you out of high school. You kicked butt at Purdue, and you still came back. Were you hurt that they didn't offer you? It was like, I don't know. I was choosing between Ohio State and Purdue at some point, and that made it very obvious. So that's one good thing about the NIL era, is if you had hurt feelings about leaving, they can be tampered down with a check and some playing time at a better school. So that's why the programs work so beautifully. I also think that's the gift that keeps on giving, man. It's one of the reasons Ohio State does so well, is the state of Ohio is still a great place for high school football, and guys grow up here wanting to be Buckeyes. Here in LSU, the two places where every guy in the state pretty much grows up wanting to go there, and we have a really good track record of getting them to come in, although the NIL's hurt that a little bit. But, Biles is needed for that group to feel great. Very high on Pettijohn, but replacing Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles is like harder than replacing Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. If you talk about how they're viewed by the pros and just how different, there aren't that many 6'4", 245-pound guys walking the earth that move like Arvell and Sonny, even in the NFL. So the idea that we are not going to be as good at linebacker next year as we are this year, and that's not when you have the top two off-ball linebackers in the draft, it's hard.
We've been saying for weeks, months, I don't know. I've been saying for at least for weeks that this is the best linebacking tandem. And I know they went out with 2 losses. People are going to be overrated, whatever. Sonny went the entire year until very early in the Miami game without even missing a tackle. Like, that's incredible to me. And I was saying it was probably the best linebacking tandem I've seen at Ohio State since Chris Spielman and Pepper Johnson. So we can't now say, yeah, okay, but they're going to be better next year. They're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. But to your point, Dan, we can't sit here and say like, oh, that's they're going to improve there. No, they're not. The question is, how close can they get to that level? And I believe in James Laurinaitis, but yeah, hopefully they get Biles. And I think Pettijohn's going to step up and Pierce is going to go ahead. Yeah.
Here's a name to think about. Now, I don't want to put too much pressure on the guy. And true freshman, it's hard to get on the field. But Sincere Johnson from Glenville.
Oh, yeah.
Just tore up the Under Armour camp. He was listed as the biggest riser at the camp. By the way, they gave out the superlatives at the camp. Biggest riser, Sincere Johnson. scout's dream was our new guy, DJ Jacobs, the commitment from Roswell, Georgia, Steel Chambers High. So that's very, very enjoyable. But yeah, Johnson is good enough that, and by the way, he's going to walk on the field. He's probably going to wear number 8, and he looks a little bit like the guy so the pipeline, perfect. It's like, okay, let's rock and roll. And to be fair, he's probably further ahead as a prospect than Arvell was. Now, I'm not comparing anyone to Arvell. Arvell's just physically put on earth to play football. I mean, he's a special physical player. But, Arvell had some stuff where in high school he didn't get to go to Glenville until his senior year. He had to spend 3 years at Euclid for some family stuff. Sincere has been at the knee the whole time, and he has been, built to be this guy. So I would not be surprised to see Sincere Johnson get some legitimate snaps next year.
All right, let's do the secondary, and then I got to close up shop here. Is it weird, Dan, that I already have Coy Parrish listed as a starter? Maybe I should actually have it. We have people asking in the chat, I think, including Buck Rasham. Is Coy definitely in the portal? Yes, he definitely is. I have him already in as a starter, but let's assume they don't get him for the sake of argument for a second. I think they're going to get him. All right, I have at corner Jermaine Matthews, Devin Sanchez. Nickel, I have Miles Lockhart right now, but I also have in parentheses get a transfer. I have Jalen McClain and Malik Hartford as the safeties with Fahim Delane knocking loudly at that door. I won't be surprised if Malik Hartford's one of those guys I had on transfer watch. So far, nothing there. That's good because he's had 2 years left because he actually redshirted this year, only played 4 games. I would love to get Parrish. Coy Parrish is just – he's a baller, man. That'd be a perfect replacement for Caleb Downs. But there you go. I have Miles Lockhart as the nickel, Sanchez Matthews as the outside corners, and hopefully they get Aaron Scott back, and this is some kind of NIL negotiation or he was just ticked off that not only did Devin Sanchez jump him, but he didn't even really play that much. He was really good as a gunner, so he didn't get down on himself or anything. He was maybe the best gunner on the team on special teams, but hopefully they get Aaron Scott back. But that's what I have down. Close out the show with your predictions, Dan.
I'll say this. I'd like to have it. I don't think Aaron Scott's coming back. That makes
I don't either.
That doesn't make any sense to me. Ohio State's not the kind of place where that's going to happen. It's too high profile. I get it. There's some other schools where guys, and you can look at the one thing when you look at these the 24/7 sports thing, you can see where it also records when they transferred to, but it also shows you some guys went in and they came back, and you can see that. Those don't tend to be the super, super high profile guys. Those tend to be the guys who went out in the portal and they're like, you're not as good as you thought. And they're like, wait a minute, I'm going to go. Can I come back? Okay. They're getting a visit from Bo Masco, the defensive back from Rutgers. And I know they're getting a visit from Kayan Lee. For those who recognize that name, Kayan Lee was a cornerback who was committed to Ohio State, flipped to Auburn, more than 1,500 snaps there. If I were going to predict the slot, and I'm reading the tea leaves, I'll go with Kayan Lee. And then the rest of the group is based, I'll go with what you said. Need a big season from Jermaine Matthews. I'll tell you the guy that had the best senior year that doesn't get the most credit. Senior year, I don't even know what is Davison Igbinosun. I was very harsh on Mr. Ovenmitz last year when he led the nation in pass interference penalties. He's going to get drafted higher than you think. He's going to get picked in the second round. You watch. And I know you're on my same page with me, Dave, but big, physical, tough guys like that, like you want to talk about a great transfer, that before the NIL really kicked in, that was the perfect transfer to me. You go into the SEC, you pluck a guy out, you get multiple years and as a starter, and he got much, much better. So very, very impressed with the way Davison played this year, and I think he's going to be rewarded. But Jermaine Matthews and Devin Sanchez have a lot to prove still, I think. I mean, Devin, as a true freshman, you have to be realistic. Every time he gave up a pass, I felt like people were upset. Keep this in mind. If you were going against Ohio State, who would you target? There's a reason they went after Lorenzo Styles and Devin Sanchez. Half the rest of the team were first-round draft picks. It's not that hard. It used to be like remember when Denzel Ward was here? If a team threw the ball at Denzel Ward in the first half, I'd be like, we're going to win because they don't know what they're doing. The second cornerback, it was a border. I think it was actually Damon Arnett, which is, but like they avoided Caleb Downs. I read one thing where, you know, when the offense comes to the line of scrimmage and checks the middle linebacker, most teams check Downs. That doesn't happen. So Matthews and Sanchez, you want to talk about guys who have to have big years next year for us to be really good. Those are two guys at the very, very top. One of them needs to turn into a true number one corner. That's not easy.
If they get K and Lee, they can put Matthews in the slot as nickel, which I think is his best spot anyway. So we'll see what happens there. Great stuff from Dan Rubin. This is a marathon show, as we thought it would be with the two big topics we had. Thanks to Dan. Thanks to all of you. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Go Bucs.